So guys, the game plan for today's video is to go through some of the best Pokemon in the metagame and talk about why they are so good and what niches they fill in the current game. Now, to basically discuss or decide, I guess, what we're going to discuss today, for anyone who missed it, we did a tier list video, I think it was 2 days ago, right? So I went through, I ranked basically every single Pokemon, gave my reasoning on why I put them where I put them. And yeah, so like that's, if you're kind of interested in like the brief rundown, go check that out. But today I want to do a bit more of an in-depth, I guess, review on some of these Pokemon because I really do think there's a lot of nuance in the current metagame. Right now, it feels like there are a couple of different playstyles that are really good. We're seeing some Pokemon rise up a lot. We're also seeing a lot of other Pokemon drop down a lot. So yeah, the game plan really today is just to kind of go through probably the A tier plus. Kind of just, explain why they're good, the different sets you might see. I'm probably not going to talk about EVs too much today, unless I think there's something like super specific, but off the top of my head, I don't really think there is anything. So yeah, that's kind of the plan for today. I guess if you guys also want to see other videos as well, maybe talking about some of the other tiers. I do have, I am thinking of maybe doing like, like the best niche picks and stuff like that. Kind of breaking down some of the more interesting ones in the metagame. But simply for today, I just want to talk about the best Pokemon in the game. Because I do think, again, some people might not realize why certain Pokemon are good. Maybe they've missed the trend of like, for example, Sneasler. This guy here, the last few weeks has really shot up. So yeah, it's kind of what, we're going to go through today. And yeah, if you want to, see any other videos regarding some Pokemon, let me know down below. But to start with anyway, we have what I call the big three, right? We'll kind of put them all together. This is the big three steel types, right? So you got Kingambit, Golden Go, and Archaludon, right? So, Arch. So basically, what makes these three so damn good? Honestly, it's just hard to kill them right now. The fighting types are pretty bad, right? If you go back and look at the tier list, again, you look at fighting types, the best fighting type, the only fighting type really is Sneasler is like the only one with instant offense. Obviously, Ape is still pretty solid. Ape normally needs time to set up. And then you got like the Tauroses, which like they're good, but are they really good enough to be the counter to these? Not really. Same with Gallade, same with Komoa, right? We have some decent fighting types, but nothing too crazy. There's no Urshifus in the metagame. And also ground types is the other major one as well. And even fire types to a certain extent. You look at the top tiers here, in the A+ tier, or the A, and above tier, I should say for myself, we got Instant, we got Talonflame, we got Volcarona, right? Instant, Talonflame aren't necessarily known for their offense, and Volcarona, while it is powerful, normally, needs a bit of time to set up. And ground types, we've got literally like the Ursalunas, which I think we're missing Blood Moon. Dude, it actually lost. I literally put Blood Moon Ursaluna in yesterday. Blood Moon Ursaluna is in the A tier. Why is it dropped off? Okay, that's a real pain in the ass. It was on the tier list, but we have Garchomp and the 2 Ursalunas, and that's kind of it, right? The Ursalunas are obviously a bit slower, and Garchomp has really become like kind of a meta, a new addition to the metagame recently, right? So, basically, Golden Go, what makes this thing so good is the fact that it can do a lot of different things, right? We're seeing items like leftovers with the setup stuff. They all pair really well with Rillaboom, which is obviously one of the other S+ tier mons, or the S tier mons, I should say. It's really good with lefties. Obviously, Life Orb as well. Life Orb is like my personal go-to right now, like Life Orb plus Terra Steel, and also Choice Specs plus Terra Steel as well, right? This one can be run on Hyper Offense, can be run on Balance. It's honestly just incredible. And the big reason for that is its signature move, Make It Rain. 120 base power spread move, and the only drawback is -1 special attack, which honestly isn't too bad when you consider this move is, as powerful as moves like, for example, Overheat from Chiyu, which is 90% accurate and lowers your, your special attack by 2 stages. And it also has a chance to miss, and it's also single target, right? So Make It Rain is really, in my opinion, the big reason this mon's so good. Not to mention Steel Ghost is just an incredible typing. And on these sets as well, you can go for Nasty Plot. If you can find room for a Nasty Plot on a Life Orb, Golden Go in particular, the mon's honestly pretty insane. But yeah, it has a really, really good matchup into a lot of the metagame. Not that many mons that can really hurt it. Again, it's weak to ground, it's weak to fire. There's not really that many good for either of those types. And then it's like weak to ghost. But again, looking at my tier list on the other side here, the ghost types, you got a Dragapult and they're and it's Annihilape, right? Annihilape needs to have its Rage Fist set up. And Dragapult, unless it's Terra Ghost, is clicking Phantom Force. So yeah, definitely not ideal here. Kingambit, in my opinion, this one really started rising up because one, it has an incredibly positive matchup into Goldengo. Obviously having, the dark type, you resist the shadow balls, and being a steel type, you resist the Make It Rain. While also being a dark type, you can hit this one for super effective damage. But also, I think people just remembered, it turns out, when you have this much attack, plus Kowtow Cleave, Sucker Punch, and our good friend Swords Dance here, this mon becomes incredibly hard to deal with, right? Because even if you resist, like, I've seen T-Tars, like, take 60 to a +2 Kowtow, which is absolutely insane. And kind of going back to what we were saying earlier, there is no, real strong fighting types right now. Obviously, Archaludon runs things like Body Press. But yeah, there's not many good fighting types for teams to kind of pick between now. A big reason why Sneasler is obviously picking up in usage as well. But in terms of sets on this one, I would say safety goggles is probably the best right now. It really depends on, I guess, how your team matches up into Amoonguss. Black Glasses is also really, really good as well. Basically, Black Glasses says, hey, I'm going to click Swords Dance, I'm going to run through. And Assault Vest is the other option. Normally, when people run AV as well, you'll see them go for things like Low Kick, because again, you want fighting type moves. And then, something like Iron Head. I also have seen people like just go no Iron Head and go like Terra Blast here, but it really, really depends. If you're not going Terra Dark, normally like things like Terra Flying is the go-to. I've also even seen some Terra Fairy. Now, Archaludon's interesting because a lot of people would probably argue that like this is just the best set here, right? You just go like Electro Shot, that's Electric Drain. Electro Shot, why does it keep trying to get me on the train? It's like Electro Shot, Draco Meteor, Dragon Pulse as well if you don't want to miss. And then normally in the last slot is something like Flash Cannon, right? So this here is your pretty stock standard set. You go for things like Terra Grass. Where is Grass? Go like Terra Grass here. You've got the stamina. And then, just max out the defenses, put a little bit of special attack. And then you pair it with Rain and start clicking, a lot of Electro Shots. But we have actually seen a lot of adaptations. One of the more recent ones that I personally really enjoy is the Power Herb Meteor Beam stuff. With Sturdy. So basically what you can do on a set like this is you go like Protect. And then you just go like max, right? You look at this mon here. I've seen some people go Modest, but I think you want Timid to outspeed, the offensive Golden Goes. But yeah, you go for a set like this. You don't have to play it in rain, but it still does function really well in rain. And yeah, it basically just allows you to go for like really, really big damage. I've also seen people on sets like this just drop Flash Cannon for Aurisphere as well. Entirely up to you. And a really cool set as well that came out recently was the set from Sempra. He ran it, and I think he got like 3rd place in the GC. But basically Sempra's idea was like, hey, everyone's kind of expecting like my Archaludon on like rain to be, Assault Vest, bulky. Like what happens if I just go something like, like Terra Electric, Electro Shot in rain with choice specs? Because I'll tell you right now, I'm so used to Goldangos never dying to Electro Shot. Like a +1 Electro Shot to a Goldango, at least my really offensive variants do roughly about 80%, right? So I normally know that in front of like an Archaludon, as long as I have something like, say, for example, you go like Goldango Sneasler, I can like fake out the Pelipper and I'm good to like nasty plot once. So when you go up against teams like this, which I did face 2 of them, especially on like the closed team sheet, where you go for like the setup and then they just Electro Shot one-shot you, it is like super, super annoying, yeah? It's really, really rough. But anyway, they're like the big 3 there. I kind of wanted to talk about them a bit. I do apologize if I'm like chatting way too much here. I do kind of want to keep this video somewhat short, but there's a lot to talk about, right? The next 2 here is Ruler Incin. Now, I have recently started playing a bit of Balance for the first time in like ever. This is the first time I'm really ever actually even enjoying Incineroar as well, which is kind of crazy. But these 2 pieces here right now are the defensive backbone of the metagame. You've got double fake out here. You've got a really good Assault Vest user. You have things like Grassy Surge, which is really good for pairing with, with your Kingambits, right? Pairing it with your Goldlingers as well. Having fake out allows you to also go for things like, fake out plus setup. It's just incredibly good. On the Assault Vest stuff as well, Terrify is definitely the way to go. But this one's pretty simple, right? Your first 3 moves are like really locked in. It's just going to be fake out, double grass. And then from there, it really comes down to what you want, right? It's either high horsepower or it's U-turn. I would say if you have, a couple of answers to steel types, you probably don't need the high horsepower. But it definitely is nice to have it as well. Because sometimes, you end up in rain matchups. And there's mon, just can't touch Archaludon. So again, really depends on the team. But Rillaboom is pretty standard. Grassy Terrain is very good for helping one set up. Same with Grassy Glide, with Fake Out. Really, really good as well at picking off things in, in particular up against rain. You can just one-shot most Bastion Legions. There is a set you can go that kind of like guarantees you to live it all the time. But obviously, yeah, still, having like a guaranteed, 80 to 90% on the Legion is always a good thing. And then Incin's kind of its best buddy, right? Obviously, Intimidate paired up with, a very, very good defensive typing in Fire and Dark. And then you have access to things like Fake Out, Parting Shot, Knock Off, right? And then whatever you want in the last slot here. Taunt's obviously really, really good. We also see people as well go for, why am I blanking? Taunt, Will-O-Wisp is what I'm looking for. And of course, as well, if you need a little bit of fire damage, Flare Blitz is like always a really, really good option. In terms of items, I would say Safety Goggles is the go-to, but again, it depends on the team. If your team has a lot of answers into Amoonguss, I think things like Citrus Berry is really, really good. I am also a big fan as well of going the Assault Vest set if you don't pair it with Rillaboom. But if you are going to go AV, obviously drop Parting Shot for U-turn, guys. Don't forget that. But yeah, these 2 are the defensive back mode in the metagame. I also forgot your Terra. I do think Terra Grass, honestly, even with goggles, is not bad. If you're going AV, definitely go Grass. But if you're going like goggles, this is still okay because it gives you a resist to, water and to ground, which is obviously really important on this mon. There are other options as well. I think Ghost is also really good. Ghost gives you an immunity to Fake Out, which can help you out in the mirror, especially, if you're going for like some turn 1 predicts. Especially if you also pair it with like another Ghost type as well. And then outside of that, probably, I don't know if I can recommend anything else. I guess like Water is like probably okay. Same with Fairy, but realistically, yeah, right now I would say Ghost or Grass is probably the go-to. But yeah, these two really, they form such a good backbone. Obviously, Grass and Fire pair super well together. They cover a lot of weaknesses. Double Fake Out's amazing. Terrain and Intimidator's amazing. And they're just really good at enabling the rest of the team. So I'm going to just do another pair here because they are actually kind of commonly seen together right now. Amoonguss and Porygon2. Right, so I guess for anyone who didn't, check out the Baltimore Regional, P2 had an absolutely incredible performance, right? It was definitely in my, the winner of the event, I would say. I think, like, obviously going into it, everyone kind of knows P2 is good. But it was one of those things I don't think people realized how good P2 was. And I think it ended up getting like 5 or 6 top 8s, which is absolutely insane when you're talking about, like, one, it's the first regional of the series or season, whatever. And 2, it was a mon that I don't think many people, like, if you told me 1 or 2 would have made it, I'd be like, yeah, but not like 5 or 6, which is kind of nutty. We'll quickly touch on Gussie here, though. I would say the best ways to play Gussie is just like Citrus Berry Regenerator. You could probably play Helmet, especially with the rise of Maushold, but I would say the issue with this is currently Mausholds are running Taunt. Because, like, they all run Taunt, even like the offensive sets, because you want to be able to taunt the redirection so they can't redirect your, like your beat ups, your population bombs, all that kind of stuff, right? So I do personally love the consistency of Citrus Berry. I think it's just like Citrus is always good where, like, when you're going for something like, Rocky Helmet, it's good, really good in some games, right? But it's not always really good, especially with Urshifu not being around. I do think it definitely drops off a little bit. But also having like the ability to, get a Citrus Berry into a Regenerator, getting back, 25% into another 33% here. It's kind of crazy, right? That's, like 60, what would that be? 68% or some shit. So that's a lot of HP back. The way to play this mon is simple though. You click Spore, you click Rage Powder. You can Pollen Puff as well on the side, which is obviously really, really good to help, heal up allies. Sludge Bomb is also incredible. In a metagame as well, where, people are going to try to taunt you. I do think having access to something like Sludge Bomb is sick, especially like mons like Rillaboom, right? Because a lot of the time people will pivot in like Rillaboom on whatever mon they think you're going to Spore. So if you predict that and throw like a Sludge Bomb into it, it's really good. You'll get, a solid 30-40% chip. And there's also a 30% chance to poison as well. My Sludge Bombs don't poison, but, it is what it is. Also, another big thing with this mod as well is if you don't have a Dozo matchup, you have Clear Smog. And the cool thing is, you can't be Terra Steel and Terra Grass at the same time. So you're either going to sleep or losing your stats. Unless they're like Safety Goggles plus Terra Steel. But realistically, if you're that scared of Amoonguss, you're probably just going to lose to other Haze mons anyway. But P2 right now is probably Amoonguss's best friend. P2 is the best Trick Room setter in the game. And of course, our good friend Amoonguss has, absolutely no speed, right? If you go like 0 speed, and I think people run, is it like Relax or something? Yeah, this one hits like 31 speed. The only thing slower than it are like Torkoal and Hat, so that's kind of cool. But P2, this mon, it's pretty simple. It runs a Violite. Download is its go-to ability. Trace is something we do see a bit in like the GC and the closed team sheets. But if you are playing open team sheet, I definitely think Download is the way to go. Right now, funny enough, the go-to type, Terra type on this mon is Terra Fighting. And the reason for that is because most of the time when Kingambit's on the board, you're going to get the special defense boost. And the reason for that is it's like 120 here versus like 85 here. So unless this mon is next to something with stupidly high speed def and no defense, P2 is like always going to get the download boost, right? Because the way it works is it puts the opponent's like defensive stats together and averages them out, yeah? So because of that, P2, like when a Kingambit's on the board, is almost always going to get the the special attack boost. And the cool thing with that is max HP Terra Dark gets one shot by just a +1 Terra Fighting Terra Blast, which is honestly pretty freaking sick. This mon also gets Recover as well, which makes it incredibly hard to deal with because when you look at its stats, right, this mon normally maxes out its HP stat, and then its defenses are so high at 90 and 95 that you honestly don't even have to invest into them. Like, we are seeing people go, like, I'm pretty sure I've seen like 116 Quiet be pretty common on this guy. And then from there, it's just figure out like, okay, like what specific attacks are you trying to live? And then you just like pump into whatever defensive stat it is. You can kind of split them if you want it. It is whatever. I will also say one other cool thing as well is always run attack on this mon, because say for example, you get like snarled or something. All of a sudden your your Terra Blast becomes physical. And you can also get like +1 onto the from the download boost as well. So yeah, there are definitely situations where you can actually turn your Terra Blast into a physical attack, and it actually does quite a bit of damage, which is really, really cool. And then yeah, the last slot on this mon, it's typically Ice Beam, especially with mons like Garchomp and whatnot picking up. Especially too because P2 likes to play with Goldango as well, right? So having an answer into the Rillabooms, you know, the Garchomps, even D-Knight's another one that's picking up quite a bit. We also see, you know, quite a bit of Dragon Bolt as well. So I definitely think having Ice Beam is cool. But if you feel like you really need electric coverage, you always have T-Bolt as an option as well. Obviously pretty damn good into rain. But yeah, these two right now are an incredibly good combo. We're seeing them paired up a lot with things like Incineroar and Ursaluna as well, regular Ursaluna. So yeah, honestly, like just a really, really sick core. So the next mon I'm going to talk about here, it's just a, like, again, I'm kind of going in order in my tier list here, sorry. I probably should have like paired it up with Archaludon or something, but it's Pelipper. Peli right now is pretty simple. It's the best rain setter in the game. In terms of Terras, there's like only two options. You either go Ghost to dodge Fake Out, or you go for Terra Stella to maximize damage. I would say Focus Sash right now is definitely the most common set where people are just going like, you know, Sash Max, Timid, or Modest, whatever you know you'd prefer. They're going for like Hurricane, Weather Ball. And then from there, it kind of depends on what the team needs, right? You'll see some people go like Protect plus Wide Guard, Protect plus Tailwind as well is also like a really, really good option. In terms of other items you can run, Life Orb is another one we're kind of commonly seeing where people will go for like basically this exact set here where it's like Life Orb plus like Terra Stella. And the reason for that is just to maximize the damage output from this mon. Because sometimes people will just kind of ignore it. And it honestly makes it pretty damn good. There's also, again, the Sempra set as well. I kind of, you know, spoke before about his choice spec stuff. Yeah, you can also just like run something like this where I think he was Terra Ghost. I don't know off the top of my head. And I forget what coverage move he actually had in this last slot. It might have just been like another, maybe like Ice Beam or something. Oh no, it was Flip Turn, wasn't it? I'm sure it was Flip Turn. No, it doesn't get Flip Turn. Does it get U-Turn? Yeah, it gets U-Turn. Okay, yeah, so it was this. This was his set here. And kind of like what you can do here is you can say like, hey, they're just going to like aim my Pelipper anyway. I'm just going to go like Choice Scarf, Tailwind, sack it. Or you can just be like, hey, I'm just going to start going for like Choice Scarf, Weather Balls in rain and shit. So Pelipper, honestly, right now, it's pretty versatile. It does a lot. And it also enables what is arguably the best mon in the game. But also protecting what is probably the 3 best mons in the game. Because, you know, as we said, Goldengo, Kingambit, and Archaludon, what do they not like? They don't like fighting types? Okay, I'm a flying type, I resist it. They don't like fire types? Well, I set the rain, so, you know, it halves the damage. And they also don't like ground types. Guess what? I'm a flying type, I'm immune to it. So, yeah, pairs incredibly well with those big 3 steel types. Next one here is just Dozogiri. This one's pretty simple. Again, I feel like I say this every time I speak about Dozogiri. People keep telling me this mon's bad, or like, you know, this combo's bad. Like, oh, Haze is everywhere, blah, blah. Dude, Dozogiri is always good. A good Dozogiri player will put the right pieces around it to make sure, like, oh, hey, your Primarina can beat my Dozo. I'm gonna make sure I beat that Primarina. Oh, you know, you've got the Decidueye, right? And it's like, you know, it's like, oh, you've got Unaware Clef. A good Dozo player is gonna beat, you know, they're gonna have answers at least to your answers, yeah? Keep that in mind. Best set right now that I'm seeing is the, definitely not the Leaf Stone set, it's the Leftovers set. Who would have thought? Lefties, Unaware, Terra Grass. Terra Grass, obviously just a good defensive typing. It basically means Rillaboom can't like 2-shot you with Wood Hammer. Obviously also gives you an immunity to Spore as well. The standard stuff here is like Wave Crash, Order Up, Earthquake. I will say, I kind of expect to see, that's not what I wanted. I kind of expect to see Substitute rise up in either the Earthquake or the Order Up slot. I could also even see it in the Wave Crash slot, but I don't personally know how I really feel about that. But yeah, something like this where they're like, you know, maximizing on the speed and whatnot. I guess something to keep in mind here as well. I believe if you go Jolly, you can outspeed. Yeah, so with this set here, that hits. Oh no, I'm blanking. No. What I think max speed Adamant gets Sneasler, right? Because what's that hit? That's like 160, 174. What's max speed Sneasler? If they go Adamant, I think it's like 172, right? Does it get? Yeah, 172. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure this. Yeah, so yeah, because that gets 174. Yeah. So Adamant gets the max speed Sneasler. Sorry, the Adamant max speed Sneaslers by 1 point. If you wanted to get like the Jolly version though, I do think you actually have to go Jolly here yourself. And that will also just get it by like 1 point as well, which is sick there. So that's something to keep in mind, but like not everyone is running max speed on their Dozos. Other sets we're seeing though as well, there is like the safety goggles stuff I was saying before, where you go like safety goggles, Terra Steel. And what this set here could do is you drop like one of your coverage moves here for Heavy Slam. And then with the right like offensive investment, the Heavy Slam will just one-shot Primarina if you go like Terra Steel Heavy Slam. And Prim right now is probably the most common Hazemon in the game, so having answers like this is obviously really good. And then with safety goggles, you're not, you know, scared of Amoonguss at all because you can't be slept. Because you're Terra Steel, you also can't be clear smoked. So this set here is definitely worth looking at. I could also see people change this as well, go like lefties and then like drop Order Up as well and go what's it called? I said it literally before, Substitute. But yeah, they're kind of like the two main sets I'm seeing on Dozo. I wouldn't be surprised, especially if you're playing best of one, to start seeing things like Terra Flying. Terra Flying, obviously, just with like Terra Blast allows you to one-shot things like Amoonguss. So yeah, they're kind of like the best Dozo sets in my opinion. Giri's simple. You're either going Scarf or Sash. And then in terms of the Terra, it's kind of whatever. I think Steel is the best in my opinion. If you're running Scarf, you're going for things like Muddy Water, Draco Meteor, Dark Pulse if you really don't want to like miss. And then I think it also gets Flip Turn as well. No, it doesn't. Why did I feel like this thing got Flip Turn? I'm clearly going crazy. I get Icy Wind as well, which is like another big one for it. And then you're probably looking at, yeah, like at this stage, what is it? Like Dragon Pulse or something like that. Whatever you want. Helping Hand is also like an option even on Choice Scarf stuff. And as well, if you're going like the Focus Sash stuff, you probably just run like these 3 moves here anyway. And then you just pair it up with Protect. It's pretty simple. Yeah, I would say that's probably just the best way to play Giri right now. So the next 4 mons here, I'm gonna kind of pair together. I'm gonna break up the order here. I feel like I've been going in a line. So we got Big Clef, we got Baby Clef. Why am you not typing? Baby Clef. We have, what is his name? It is Electabuzz. And then we have Maushold. Now, most of these mons are pretty simple in my opinion. Big Clef right now, its main thing it really has going for it is like one, with like Terra Poison, you're really good at redirecting Sneasler, not to mention just good neutral defensive typing on the Pokemon. But thanks to Unaware, you're really good into some setup pieces as well. With Moonblast, you are one of the better offensive fairy types, and also like Follow Me, Unaware plus like Rillaboom also does like hard walls out Dondozo as well, which is really, really nice, right? And then you just go for something like definitely not present. You go for like Protect, and then normally in the last one it's kind of whatever. There's like Ice Beam, Icy Wind, also gets like Helping Hand as well. Really, really cool, right? Got a lot of tech going for it. A simple set, if you guys were interested, is just something like this. If you like really wanted, I think off the top of my head, I actually think there's like some calc like this that you maybe want to hit. I forget, there was like some reason to put a little bit of Spadef on this mon. Maybe it's like a Terra Steel, Make It Rain if you Terra or something like that. But I feel like there was a bit of a reason to run a little bit of Spadef, but I forget off the top of my head. But yeah, Clef right now, I'd just say it's best versus setup pieces and versus Dondozo in particular. Baby Clef does function a bit differently. Obviously, it's a Violet plus Friend Guard. This mod just like wants max HP, and then again, kind of decide whatever you want to live with the bulk there. And then it's pretty similar, right? You know, you've got Follow Me, right? You've got access to Helping Hand, which I do think it's a bit better on this mon than some of the other pieces. It also gets like Heal Pulse as well if you really want to heal up your ally. This last slot here is honestly can be like whatever. I do think After You is like mandatory. But I would say what Clef does better than, you know, most other redirection mons right now is, one, obviously it has Friend Guard, you know, things like Maushold have that as well. But it is very good into Trick Room. Because again, if you look at this mon's speed and you go like 0 speed here with like a minus speed nature, let's just go plus Spadef for the sake of this. It gets 36 speed, which means basically the only good mons that underspeed this thing are like Amoonguss, Hat, and Torkoal, right? Any other Trick Room team, you can go for like After You on your ally, and then basically just allow them to outspeed you know, the opponents under Trick Room, which is really, really cool on hyper offensive teams. If your team is like really like Amoonguss week, especially like Trick Room Amoonguss week, I do think like Terra Grass is honestly pretty good. But also things like Terra Steel as well is just a really good neutral defensive typing on this mon. But yeah, I would say Clef is just best at enabling a really strong attacker, while also kind of fixing up a Trick Room matchup. Now, Electabuzz, this is my GOAT right now. I've been playing this guy the entire format. I absolutely love Electabuzz. Couple of Terras you can go for right now. Ghost is obviously very good. Dark is another pretty good one as well, because like things like Prankster Taunt, Prankster Encore from Whimsicott, all that kinds of shit. But I'm also a huge fan of Terra Dragon. If your rain matchup is not amazing, Terra Dragon is amazing. But what does this one do? Well, one, it's a Follow Me bot. Funny enough, it is like a better Follow Me bot than its you know, evolutions, kind of similar to Clef here because of the Violet being so broken. But what this one does incredibly well is the combination of Follow Me plus Vital Spirit basically means Amoonguss can't put this thing to sleep, and it can't really do anything on the board because you keep redirecting everything it does. And thanks to, you know, pretty nice, you know, special bulk here, you are really good at, you know, just redirecting and taking any hits you need to. And yeah, you kind of want to like max out your defense here. I think I was running like, I actually think this was like my set here, something like this. For anyone interested in a spread, I was like Bold Nature with something like this. It's like, it's really, really solid, right? And then you also have options like Protect. Yeah, that's like, you know, the standard stuff, right? It's also a pretty quick taunt mon as well. And then personally, I've been running Electro Web. But it really depends what your team needs. If you're really weak to Gambit, this maybe isn't great. If you need a little bit of speed control, maybe it is. Obviously, it also gets access to things like Thunderbolt for just a really strong, powerful stab, especially in a metagame where this is probably our best electric type, which is kind of hilarious. It also gets access to Volt Switch as well. I'm not a huge fan of Volt Switch because my thing with Electabuzz is there are some games where I actually need this thing to deal some damage. You know, say I'm up against Rain and I need to break a Pelipper's Sash or something. And the last thing I want to do is be forced to Volt Switch out, right? For me, that's just... it feels really, really bad. But I would say both T-Bolt and Webs are both really, really good. Webs is what I was particularly running on my most recent team. But yeah, honestly, just an unbelievable support piece right now. It's really, really good if you need a mon that's good into Rain, secondary speed control, or just an electric type in general. It is a very specially defensive mon as well, which is really good because it does resist Goldango as well, which is pretty nice. And especially if you're going up against things like Goldie Balance, the ability to just like tank any hit from it and then E-webs it is also really, really nice because at that stage, most pieces on your team will probably outspeed it, right? And then finally, Maushold. So I want to leave this guy for last because there are two major sets, right? So the first one here is Safety Goggles. And this set here pairs up incredibly well with Annihilape, who we'll talk about next. But yeah, you've got like Safety Goggles, Friend Guard stuff, right? This set here normally goes for Terra Ghost. I would say all Mausholds kind of go for Terra Ghost here. And the set's pretty simple, right? It's like Beat Up, it's Follow Me, it's Taunt, and it's Protect, right? The reason for this set is like, one, you have Beat Up, basically, it, hits the opponent or whatever 4 times. Really good, sorry, let me rephrase that. It hits the opponent as many times as allies you have alive. So for example, if I lead on turn 1, I have my Maushold, I have my Annihilape, and I have my 2 mons in the back. Beat Up will attack for all of them, right? So when you hit into your Annihilape here, you'll hit the Maushold will hit, the Annihilape will hit, and then the 2 mons in the back will hit. Basically giving you 4 stacks to Rage Fist, meaning on turn 1 you have a 250 power, base, 250 base power Rage Fist, right? Very, very freaking strong, right? You also have Follow Me here with Safety Goggles, makes you very good into Amoonguss, and also just in general a good, redirection mon. You also have Taunt as well, which is really good into anything that wants to click Follow Me, especially mons with like Rocky Helmet and, that kind of stuff, right? And also, as well, if you're going up against like other Follow Me mons, basically they can redirect the Beat Up. So say I lead my Clef clicks Follow Me, you just taunt the Clef, that way, it can't redirect your Beat Ups anymore. So yeah, very, very good. And then Friend Guard as well, basically making, your allies take, 3/4 damage, especially when you're talking about a beast like Annihilape, who a lot of the time run like super bulky, they're like running a lot of defense, a lot of speed def, a little bit of speed, a little bit of attack. It is very, very nice. But yeah, so I'll kind of touch on both, I guess, here at the same time. So then Annihilape will go for things like Leftovers, right? You go Defiant, so you can't be intimidated. Then it's just like Rage Fist, Drain Punch, Bulk Up, and Protect, right? Pretty simple. I feel like at this stage, we all kind of know what this mon does. Not going to go through the EVs. Terras, honestly, Fire is the most common Terra right now. Gives you a resistance into Goldango. You also can't be burnt. But I also do think that Terra Water is a little bit harder to deal with. The reason for that is a Pokemon like Goldango is really good at forcing your Terra. And then it pairs up incredibly well with things like Primarina and Garchomp in the back, right? Like a lot of these like super hyper offensive teams, they'll say like, hey, I'm going to lead my Goldango. I'm going to force you to Terra here on your Annihilape. And then basically I'm just going to sack my Goldango. And then I'm going to bring in, my Primarina, my Ursaluna, my Garchomp. These mons that, hit you for super effective spread damage that Maushold can't save you from. Because of that, I do think Terra Water is probably just the best way to go around it. Because I think it gives you a little bit more staying power. And it's honestly just pretty damn solid. But this combo can also run another combo here, which is the wide lens stuff with Technician. So basically, the set really doesn't change, except you swap out Beat Up there for Population Bomb. For anyone who doesn't know how Population Bomb works, it's actually pretty damn broken. Who would have thought? So this is a 20 base power move, right? Thanks to Technician, it becomes a 30 base power move. It hits 10 times. The only issue is its catch is it's 90% accurate. Wide lens increases the accuracy of a move by essentially, 1.1. So when you're a 90% accurate move, this goes up to 99%, chance. So basically 99 times out of 100, you're going to hit this move, which means you are very, very likely to hit this move 10 times. Now, Technician boosted makes this move essentially a 300 base power attack. And even though this thing has, pretty piss poor attack, it still hits really freaking hard. See, some people will run Adamant. I personally prefer Jolly. And the main reason for that is because I normally run a different Annihilape with it, and that is the Choice Scarf set, right? So the Choice Scarf set, for anyone who hasn't seen it, normally you change it up quite a bit here. So one thing you'll throw on here is coaching. So basically you can make, your 8 faster, basically allow it to outspeed the Maushold, and then you give it +1 to its attack, and then it starts launching off these big population bombs. It also gets access to things like U-turn if you need a little bit of, like momentum. It also gets access to close combat as well. And if you really, really wanted, you also have options like Final Gambit, right? If you just kind of need to nuke something on turn 1, Final Gambit can be incredibly good. And normally you'll swap out Rage Fist as well for something like Phantom Force, or the other option as well is Shadow Claw. They are both, pretty damn strong. But yeah, this is, two of the best mons in the game right now. Maushold has definitely started rising a lot more. I think once people started realizing, like, hey, you don't have to play this thing as a support, it started kind of picking up a lot more. And then, we saw things like Polchua's D9 just get one-tapped by this, even though it had multi-scale. You also see some other mons where you're like, wow, I can't believe that just got KO'd. Like, for example, my Electabuzz, right? I wasn't running this bulky, I was running a little less bulk. And it turned out my Electabuzz had a 50% chance just to die to Maushold. And the crazy thing is, if it crits once, which it has 10 chances to crit, that calc goes out the window. So, yeah, like really cool stuff from these two. So next up here, I'm going to talk about the big dragons of the metagame. Those being Garchomp. Garchomp, we have Dragapultizi, my guy, my goat, my favorite dragon in the game. And then who am I missing? Looking at my other screen here. Of course, the king himself, Dragonite. Yeah, the OG dragon. So, looking at these guys here. Garchomp right now, there are definitely a couple ways to play it, but I think the best way without a doubt is this set right here. This is the Terra Ground Life Orb Rough Skin stuff. Basically, there are a lot of mons in the metagame right now that are physical. Maushold is on the rise, and Rough Skin's really good into that. And Rough Skin just in general is really good. Chipping your opponent for 12.5% of their HP is never a bad thing. The Life Orb Terra Ground stuff I do think is the best way to play this one right now. Simply because we're in desperate need essentially of ground types, right? And there are some ones out there that can switch into ground type attacks. And because of that, I think just having that bonus where it's like, oh, you resist this, but I'm like Terra Ground and Life Orb, so a resist is still taking, a ridiculous amount of damage, right? I would say this here is the best way to run this mon. I am also just a huge fan of the Jolly Max Max. Being 102 you outspeed a lot of the metagame. And Garchomp has really good attack as it is. So, you don't have to go adamant, especially with, Terra Ground and Life Orb. This mon's incredible. Obviously, as I said at the start, the 3 best mons in the game are obviously all steel types. And also Garchomp pairs really well with our good friend Dragonite here for a couple of reasons, right? So one, I would say Garchomp's biggest issue in the metagame is Rillaboom. Rillaboom's existence hurts this mon so much because of grassy terrain. For anyone, I guess, who doesn't understand how it works, grassy terrain basically reduces Earthquake's damage by 50%. So all of a sudden, this becomes a 50 base power move, and then because it's also a spread move, then you also lose a bit of power on top of that. It makes, Garchomp's life pretty damn miserable. But what D-Knight does is really cool. So on these teams here as well, I'll talk about Polchua's set, which is the Lumberry stuff. He ran Lumberry plus Multiscale. I will say my personal favorite sets are like either Assault Vest, or Choice Band. I would say they're like the 2 best ways to run it. I always just run Inner Focus. I think you're crazy to not run Inner Focus. But one thing I like about the Assault Vest set as well is you could run with things like coaching. So Sneasler's a really good option. Obviously Scarf Ape also is like really good. But yeah, we'll go back to the Lumberry stuff just because Polchua obviously had the best run with this team. But basically what this team was able to do was score some like really cool pins with Terra Blast, right? So basically what happens is you go like Terra Blast, Terra Flying. You pair this with Garchomp. And it allows you to obviously to spam Earthquakes next to, your Dragonite, right? But, what wants to eat, the ground type attacks right now? For the most part, it is, either flying types, which are honestly, no, there's not that many flying types. But for the most part, it is the grass types, right? And there is a big reason as well why we see things like Archaludon going for Terra Grass. So what this allows you to do is like, for one, say like, okay, I'm up against Archaludon. I'm clicking like Earthquake plus Terra Flying, Terra Blast. And what that says is if he goes like, hey, okay, I need to like resist this Earthquake right now. They go Terra Grass. They obviously just, eat the, the Terra Blast, right? Same thing goes for Rillaboom, right? So you bring in your Rillaboom to deal with the Garchomp. All of a sudden, they just took a massive, Terra Flying, Terra Blast of D-Knight. And this mon honestly is no joke. It has a lot of attack, and this is one where its speed stats kind of whatever. So you can invest into attack, go into the Adamant Nature, and deal a lot of damn freaking damage, right? And again, I'm looking at the top mons here. Another move as well this guy gets is Low Kick, which is also really important. Low Kick, very good into, obviously, Kingambit, really good into, I wouldn't say it's really good into Archaludon, but it's decent there. You can Low Kick down the Incineroar, you can Terra Blast the Rillabooms, you can Terra Blast the Amoongusses. P2, also you can Terra Blast as well and deal a lot of damage too. So yeah, there's quite a lot of mons. Also like guys like Sneasler as well are there. Volcarona, you also have Whimsicott, Annihilape. A lot of mons that really don't want to take the Terra Blast. And then I think in the last slot they were Stompy T. I believe this was his set, I could be wrong. But yeah, something like this is just really solid, right? Really consistent. And these two just pair incredibly well together. And of course you can always go in this like last slot as well, Extreme Speed. He honestly probably did have extreme speed as well, now that I think about it. Especially too because the Terra Bandit stuff's really good with like Terra Normal, that kind of shit, yeah. You know, on the Bandit stuff as well, Outrage does like stupid damage, so definitely worth keeping in mind. But finally, my main man, Dragapult, Polteezy as I like to call it. I would say right now, it's probably not the only way to run it, but it definitely feels the best in my opinion. The Choice Banded clear body stuff. Basically, you can't be intimidated because it's a clear body. You're a ghost type, so you can't be faked out. And you just click Choice Banded attacks, man. So my favorite way to play this guy right now is obviously the Dragon Darts here, Outrage, U-Turn, and Phantom Force. This is what I've been playing, and it's just really, really good. Obviously, U-Turn gives you a bit of pivoting. Phantom Force allows you to deal damage on the ghost side. And Terra, Dragon Darts, and Outrage do stupid damage. Like when you look at this attack stat, obviously it's not too crazy being like 120. But you're so damn fast that even with an adamant nature, I think the only thing in the meta that outspeeds you, I'm pretty sure, is Talonflame, which is really, really good to know. And yeah, this mon just absolutely pumps damage. The amount of games I've won, because like turn 1, I just got like Terra, Dragon, Outrage, and like I hit their incident and I just like one-shot it, right? I hit a mon that they expect to live to like a Dragon Dart, and they just get one tap by Outrage, and then it just starts to snowball. Like, oh, they just lost their Incin. Oh, now they just lost this. And then next thing you know, you just one-shot 2 or 3 mons with Outrage, which is kind of crazy. The other set as well, though, I will talk about here is the Ghost set. Also really, really good. You're probably dropping Outrage on this set for Terra Blast. And the main reason for that is because you're not always going to click Terra on this mon, but occasionally you will. Oh, sorry, you probably are still a lot of the time. Because Terra Ghost, Choice Banded, Terra Blast also just one-shots things like standard offensive Golden Goes, which is really good to know. I would say the Ghost stuff, in my opinion, is probably better on Hyper Offense, where Dragon's probably a bit better on Balance. At least that's kind of my takeaway from playing them on. But yeah, they're like the big 3 ground dragon types as well, which right now there's like no fairies, so Dragon's pretty damn freaking good. I guess the next 2 as well, just kind of talking about hyper offense. Let's take that over to my other 2 goats here. We got Talonflame, we got Whimsicott, 2 of my all-time favorite mons. I feel like I talk about it every time. You're not going to see it probably, but my goat Whimsicott. Yeah, the green screen's kind of fucking Whimsicott here, but that's my goat right there. Love this one to bits. But yeah, we have Talonflame. I would say the Cover Cloak stuff is probably like the best way to play it. If you're playing like Closed Team Sheet or like whatever, like Life Orb and Sharpeak are also pretty damn good, because a lot of the time people don't want to fake this mon out because they know it's Cloak, unless they're like really trying to break the Gale Wings here. I would also say as well, I think Ghost is still the best Terra. I know some people go like, I think I've seen like some Steel. I've also seen some people go Grass as well for like Amoonguss. It really is up to you. This is just my personal favorite way to play it. But I would say the absolutely mandatory moves here are Tailwind, Brave Bird, and then probably Will-O-Wisp, and even Taunt as well. It just depends on the team. Sometimes you really, really need access to Brave Bird. Sorry, not Brave Bird, I have Brave Bird on there. Flare Blitz. If your team like really needs the fire damage, Blitz as well is really good. I've also played sets like this. I genuinely think like a set like this here is really, really good as well. I will also say it right now, if you're playing this mon, just go max. Don't question. I've done the calcs. This is a weird mon. Just go max. If you go up against an adamant, what's it called as well? If you go up against the adamant, Dragapult, even on like the supporter sets where you've got like Willow Taunt, if you can like find out the speed tier, especially in a best of 3, and like you figure out like, oh hey, my Talonflame's actually just faster than the Dragapult because they're adamant, you can just like turn 1 Will-O-Wisp it. I don't know what happened there, but sure. But yeah, you just turn like 1 Will-O-Wisp it, and then all of a sudden the Dragapult just has like a really bad time. But yeah, they're like the better ways to play Talonflame in my opinion. I would say Talon right now is also really good because like it can just one-shot Whimsicott with Brave Bird. If you are going to play Whimsicott, I do think Focus Sash is okay. I've seen people run it, but I am just personally a fan of Cover Cloak for the consistency. I would say if you're going to run Whimsicott, probably have an answer into Talonflame that isn't sacking your Whimsicott on turn 1. It's probably not worth it. Also, the other thing as well, I don't think I mentioned, I like Terra Ghost for E-Speed as well. Like, Bandit D-Knights can just one-shot you. Same goes for Whimsicott as well. Like, Whimsicott can actually, like, build to live the E-Speed. Talonflame really can't afford to, because it's so quick, it wants all its speed, right? You want to outspeed Meowscratas, you want to outworst speed tie in the mirror, you also want to outspeed things like Dragapult that are adamant, so definitely worth keeping in mind there. But yeah, so Whimsicott, what it has going for it is one of the few fairy types in the game. Moonblast is obviously a broken move. It is also, I believe, it's not the only Prankster Encore mon. We do have Volbeat and Illumise, but I would definitely say Whimsicott is the better of the group. And then this mon also has access to things like Sunny Day, right? It also has access to Fake Tears, which is one of my all-time favorite moves. This mon just has a lot of support stuff, right? If you actually have a look at the status moves this guy gets, it's pretty damn deep, right? It gets, Helping Hand as well. It gets Light Screen, which is really good. You can switch a Roo, you can Taunt. Charm's also not bad. You have Terrain as well if you want to swap it on your opponent. I'm a big fan of running Misty Terrain because, like, one, it can help your team against things like Amoonguss, while two, also giving you an answer into Side Spam, right? Where a lot of the time you go up against Side Spam and they rely so heavily on that Terrain that, you know, they say, for example, they go for like Trick Room turn 1, you just like Misty Terrain, like against like something like Indeedee, as you like cycle in a fake out, and then you just like fake out Encore, and then you just make them, you change the Trick Room, which I think is pretty funny. But yeah, definitely, you know, one of the better supports. Again, Focus Sash, also not bad. Just allows you to live. If you go Sash, you go something like Protect. In terms of Terrors, I'm personally a big believer in Terra Steel. I like a Terra that doesn't get one-shot by Talonflame, while also not getting one-shot by Make It Rain, and Steel's kind of the only one that does it. Terra Fire is also a decent option as well. It gives you a resistance into Make It Rain, which is good. And it also gives you, you know, just making basically Brave Bird neutral. It also gives you a fire resist as well. The other one as well that is interesting is Terra Rock. It does give you a lot of really interesting resists, but my biggest issue is you are still weak to Make It Rain. Yeah, they're like just, I guess, the two main tailwind setters here. What's left on my list to cover? I didn't talk about. Okay, it looks like I got 4 months left to talk about here. That's fine. Let's just go through 2 of them off the rip. Oh, actually, I think there's 5 left. There's 5 left. Okay, that's fine. How long are we going for? It's like 40 minutes. We're okay. We're okay. So we have Volcarona here. I'm gonna just do 2 together here. We got Volcarona Prim. These two are both like really good special attackers in the current metagame. Volcarona right now is best at, I would say, just clicking like either like having like lefties or cover cloak. You go for like some defensive Terra. Terra Grass is really good, gives you immunity to Amoonguss while also being able to nuke things like Primarina. Because Primarina wants to haze you. The sets are normally pretty simple. They're normally just like Heatwave plus Giga Drain, and then it's like Protect Quiver Dance. Quiver Dance is like the most broken setup move in the game. Getting +1 to, you know, your offensive stat, a defensive stat, and your speed at the same time, kind of nutty. Like, imagine if Dragon Dance gave you +1 defense at the same time. It would be absolutely insane. Normally the way to EV this mon is you want it to hit like a certain speeds tier. I still like hitting 152, then you go like, you know, like something like this. Don't take that set, you know, 100% right now, but it's something along those lines. You can drop a little bit of speed to like 143 if you just want to outspeed Dragapult to +1, and then you can like max out your bulk a bit more. I've even seen some people just go like sets like this where they just like all they want is just like the bold nature. I've even seen people run like no speed, and you just say, hey, I'm clicking Quiver Dance twice every game, and I'm just gonna make sure I'm like bulked out here. There's a lot of different ways to run this one. In terms of other Terras as well, it's like things like Terra Dragon are really good. But Volcarona right now really thrives on those like Kingambit balance teams where it's like, okay, I got an SD Kingambit and I got a Quiver Dance Volcarona. Guess which one I'm setting up. You guess wrong, you automatically lose. You guess right, you better make sure you don't sack the wrong pieces because, oh, you assume I'm leading Volcarona? Great, I did it. Maybe I take out, you know, your answer to Volk and it sweeps through. Or it's like, hey, maybe you've left your, you know, your answer for Gambit at home. Gambit's in the back, it's going to sweep through. Yeah, Volcarona right now, one of the best special attackers in the format, the best special attacking fire type. I will say, I'll kind of leak it as well. I actually think a set like this is really good, and I expect to see this rise up quite a bit. I'm just gonna like EV it out for you guys because I can. I think it's like, is it 116? Yeah, it is. I expect to see something like this rise up with Life Orb here. And the reason for that is like with a set like this, you outspeed Golden Go, even if they're timid max speed, and you also one-shot it with Life Orb Heatwave. And then you also have the option of just like saying like, hey, oh, I've got to turn to setup. It's very similar to like how Golden Go right now is playing as well with like the Life Orb Nasty Plot stuff where you're like, hey, I have Terra Steel, Make It Rain turn 1. I can deal a lot of damage. But if you lead too passive or, you know, I have ways to basically protect at turn 1 and I can click a Nasty Plot, all of a sudden shit gets real. Like you imagine this one here getting like +1 to its special attack, +1 to its speed. It becomes incredibly hard to deal with, right? And then Primarina, a few different ways to run it right now. Life Orb is an option on it. I've also seen Mystic Water, but I don't think Mystic Water is great. It's also a half decent Life Orb one as well, because this one does normally pair up with Rillaboom. But I would say, in my opinion, the best sets are probably Throat Spray, which honestly might be slowly falling out of the metagame. But I do think the best one is Citrus. And the reason I like Citrus so much is because, you know, normally this mon is a really good answer into things like Dondozo, or it's kind of just like a bulky piece that's gonna, you know, gonna sit there for a little bit. And then, you know, having like something like Citrus is really good, especially into what's it called, Dondozo. Basically means like you can't get 2-shot by it, which is like really, really nice, yeah. And then Liquid Voice is just great, you know, makes your sound type moves become water type moves. Really good when you have access to things like Hyper Voice, you know, fantastic. Moonblast as well is really good. And then normally this mon runs Haze, as it is one of the best answers into Dondozo. This is basically your very standard set for this mon, just Hyper Voice, Moonblast, Haze. You can also see some people run like Calm Mind. I don't know if Calm Mind's really good right now, simply because like this is the best Haze user in the game. Definitely worth something to keep in mind though. I will say Terra Poison right now is the most common Terra on this mon. I think Terra Steel's better. Terra Steel gives you a better matchup into Dondozo. Because basically the way I see it, when you're playing Dondozo, normally you want this mon paired up with Rillaboom anyway. So because of that, you're taking resisted damage to Earthquake. You already resist Wave Crash, and you're immune to Order Up, right? So it just makes it super easy. Even if they Wave Crash you, thanks to Citrus Berry, it's like never a two-shot, especially with grassy terrain. So that's really good. And then also, as I said earlier, I do think one of the sets that we will see adapt is the Terra Steel Heavy Slam stuff. And because of that, I think having a way to resist Steel, especially like when Golden Go as well, kind of like two-shot you would make it rain. Having a defensive Terra, I do think is like really, really good into it, right? I won't talk about the EVs here, but yeah, like Primarina right now is like probably the best special attacking water type. That isn't named Pelipper, but Pelipper's not good because it's a special attacking water type. It's good because it's the best rain setter in the game. I guess I'll piggyback as well off that to Basculegion. Couple different ways to play Basculegion right now. Swift Swim is definitely the best, but Adaptability Scarf on non-rain is still really good. That'll kind of apply for everything else. I'm gonna chuck it in here. But basically the set you see like Life Orb, you see like Mystic Water, and you see Choice Banded. Now, I will say I think Banded's the best. Terra Water Choice Banded does insane amounts of damage. Terra Grass is also really good for one, like opposing Amoonguss, but two, Rillaboom, right? Being able to resist Rillaboom, I do think is unreal. In terms of defensive calcs, I think this is it. If you run this spread here, I'm pretty sure you don't die to the like the 116 Adamant Rillaboom Grassy Glides. Like this does like 99% max to this set, which is definitely worth keeping in mind. The standard moves here, you're talking like Wave Crash, you're talking Flip Turn, you're talking it is Last Respect. And then the last move, why am I blanking on this? Aqua Jet. Something like this is pretty standard. Jet in Rain's pretty cool if you're going up against things like Talonflame because it allows you to break their Gale Wings because you've got the Rain boost. Especially if you're going for things like Terra Water. I'm pretty sure Terra Water Banded Jet just kills Talonflame in Rain, which is kind of crazy. And then yeah, again, I guess if you want the set, you're always going max speed on this thing, and then you just like, honestly, this set here works out so perfectly because you hit the bump while also being max speed. It's great. But yeah, this guy in Rain, it's not much to say. It's Basculegion. It does a shit ton of damage. I played a game recently where I was like, oh, yeah, my Primarina, it doesn't die to this. It just Terra Water Wave Crashed me. And then I was like, holy shit, I can't believe I died. I did the calc after the game. It's like 110. And I'm like, how's it doing 110 minimum? My Primarina's like near max HP with a bit of a defensive investment. And then I had another game as well where my Electabuzz, I was like, my Buzz eats one. My Buzz didn't eat one. It wasn't good. That one's like honestly incredibly ridiculous to deal with. But yeah, anyway, we have two mons left on my list here before I wrap it up for today. And that's Sneasler. I feel like I should have spoken about Sneasler at the start because I'll honestly probably put this mon in the Thumbo because in my opinion, it's like the most slept on mon in the game. Oh, and I forgot too. My tier list dropped my Ursaluna because I had to manually add it to the tier list because I think Robbie freaking forgot it. Sneasler, two ways to play this mon right now. One is Focus Sash Unburden. So that's a lie. Focus Sash, Poison Touch. Diaclaw and Close Combat are both absolute must-haves on this mon. Basically, Sneasler's the best fighting type in the format. This mon's absolutely insane. Close Combat plus Poison Touch is hilarious. I love when people like Terra Grass their Archaludon and then like my Terra Stellar Close Combat does like 60 and then I poison them. It's really funny. I also love when my Fake Out poisons the one I'm clicking Fake Out on. It's like, oh, your Rillaboom Instant, I'm going to fake you out and you just got poisoned. It's fantastic. Yeah, this set here is pretty standard. I do like Jolly because I don't want to ever run the risk of the speed side here. Not to mention 189 just outspeeds the majority of the metagame. But yeah, this mon's really good. The other set as well is the Grassy Seed stuff normally. Occasionally you see it as well with Psychic Seed. But Grassy Seed on Burden paired up with Rillaboom is pretty damn good. And you can also see them sometimes drop Fake Out for things like, what's it called? Acrobatics, right? So you got like Acrobatics, Terra Flying. There's a couple other sets as well. I've seen Terra Ghost be pretty popular. I think Terra Ghost on like the Fake Out stuff is probably like really good as well. And they're both just really good. It's honestly just the best fighting type in the format. Diaclaw is broken, especially when you're playing like the Poison Touch stuff. Because like if you look at this, I'm not going to fix that item. But if you look at this, right? You have a 30% chance to poison. And for anyone I guess who doesn't understand how this works either, by the way, it's two separate instances. So you can go up against Lumberry, for example, Diaclaw someone, poison them with Poison Touch, activate the Lumberry, and then sleep them with Diaclaw. Absolutely insane. But then, like, you look at Diaclaw, it's like a 50% chance to sleep, poison, or paralyze. So it's like 17% chance each. So it's like, thanks to Poison Touch, you have like a 40% chance each turn to poison someone. And then on top of that, you also have like an additional 30% chance. It's not obviously exactly that because it's not the way it works. It's a 30% chance into a 50% chance. But then it's like, oh, you didn't hit like that chance to poison. Well, there's a chance you're going to sleep or paralyze them. And the amount of games I won because you sleep or paralyze, like the amount of Bascullegions Legions I've gone up against where they switch in, like they'll like switch the Bascullegion Legion into like an Archaludon slot. I predict it and I go for like Diaclaw, like thinking they're either going to go for Terra Grass or the switch, and they switch in and I paralyze it. It's like, oh great, you now have a paralyzed Bascullegion Legion in rain. It has no speed anymore. It's fan-freaking-tastic. Also, this is Focus Sash. I know I said I wasn't going to fix it, that's tilting me. But yeah, honestly, unreal. If you haven't tried Sneasler, try it. I only recently started playing it in the last couple of days, and I'm the highest I've ever been on the ladder. I'll hopefully... look, I guess this is actually a good time to plug it as well. I was going to do it at the end of the video, but fuck it, why not? We're here. I am planning to stream Friday morning for me, which is like a day and a half away from now. I actually have it up on my other screen here. Let me pull it up. Sorry, guys. I'm really unprofessional. It's like the Talonflames Fight Club. It's in like a day and a half. If you're interested, go sign up. Currently, there's only like 8 players signed up. But I have a public holiday and I really wanted to play a tournament, and there was like only 2 tournaments on Limitless at the time. I'll leave a link down below in the description. But yeah, there's only 2 events. One was like English speakers and one wasn't. I was like, I'm just gonna do the one that has that's in English. It was basically the way I did it. So yeah, go check it out. I'll be playing Sneasler there. I'll also be streaming it as well. So if you're interested, obviously come check out the stream. And then finally, rounded out, these 2 here, thankfully, pretty damn easy. We have the 2 Ursaluna forms. We have the Flame Orbs Gut stuff here with regular Ursaluna. Common terrors are either Ghost or Fairy. You want to resist fighting types. And being immune to Fake Out is also never a bad thing. In terms of moves, you got Fachade and you have Headlong Rush. They're the absolute 2 must-haves. I would say Protect also kind of belongs on that list. And then for Ursaluna, it really depends. I've seen some people run like Terra Fairy, Terra Blast, which is kind of cool. Earthquake obviously is a pretty standard one. We also have Sword Dance as well, if you want to get freaky with it, and Substitute as well is also really nice. Yeah, they're all really good. Just kind of depends on the team and the situation. Yeah, the Mon does a lot of damage, incredibly good under Trick Room, and one of the best ground types in the format. And the other goat here is Blood Moon Ursaluna. For the most part, they are all like Terra Normal with Life Orb. Like something like this is like pretty standard, where you just like Hyper Voice, your Blood Moon, and then you go, what is it called, Earth Power as well, because you want like that coverage, yeah? Like you want to be able to hit those Steel and Rock types. So yeah, set like this is like really standard, where people just go like max, whatever. If you want to play Turbo Bear, go Turbo Bear. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I never go more than like 90. If you really want, you go like 92, 93. But you never want to go like max Bear if you're going Turbo Bear. Just keep that in mind. It's not worth it. You want a bit of a defensive investment. Modest Nature 2, Quiet Nature. Just buff up that special attacks that, yeah, it's very good. Another set as well that I do kind of want to touch on, because I think I spoke about it a while ago, where I was like, hey, the Terra Fairy Assault Vest stuff actually seems really good. And I'm pretty sure Nails just won it with this. Because, like, for anyone, I guess, who doesn't know, like, the modest max special attack Vacuum Wave to, like, Goldango does, like, 40%. Because, obviously, like, even though it's a ghost type, you still hit it with Vacuum Wave. And it's like, yeah, it was, like, 30-40% damage. Which I thought was kind of crazy. Because if you, like, get any chip on it and then snipe it with Vacuum Wave, I think it's pretty funny. And Terra Fairy as well is just nice. I'm pretty sure he, like, ran something like this as well. Check out his Twitter if you guys didn't. Also, that's something else as well. Technically, I'm at the end of the video. This is the last one I was going to talk about. But yes, one of the other videos I have planned for the coming days is basically just the top teams in the metagame. And thankfully, a lot of good players made their teams public. So I'm going to share a couple of them. I'll link all the Twitters, of course, in the video. But yeah, if that's something you're interested in, obviously stick around. We'll talk about some of the best teams. I'll also put some more teams in there from me and, you know, from other people. I'll also recreate some of the other top teams as well. So if that's something you're interested in, obviously stick around, hit the subscribe button. And I guess while you're down there, click the like button as well. But yeah, that's kind of Blood Moon Ursaluna, right? This is kind of a newer way to play it. I kind of expect to see it rise up just a little bit. Because I do think AV makes a lot of sense on this mon. It hits incredibly hard. Its physical bulk is really good. Its speed's pretty shitty, obviously. But its special defense is really where this mon lacks. And yeah, Assault Vest kind of really patches that weakness up. But yeah, anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for this one. Let me double check my list really quickly. I've been here for like 50 minutes. Shit. Okay, yeah, that looks like I've covered everything from my list. As I said, guys, if there's any mods you want to hear me talk about in particular, let me know down in the comments below. As I said, I do plan on doing some videos with maybe some more like niche picks or like, you know, interesting underused picks, all that kind of stuff, in the near future. There's a couple as well on my list. Like, for example, I think Delphox is super slept on. I put it in the builder a couple times, and I actually think that mod might be kind of fire, but I need to test it out a bit more. Yeah, anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for this one. As I said, let me know your thoughts down below in the description, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.